Welcome back to my channel and a new week of videos. Today I'll be talking about how I made these figures. So at my Taekwondo dojo, I volunteer and I'm on the leadership team, and I have friends on this leadership team, and I decided to make little sculptures of them for Christmas. Except here's the thing. I'm a procrastinator at heart, so I couldn't get these sculptures to them until early January. I had to start with finding photos of them to reference, and that by itself took an hour. Then I had to make sure I had all the materials I needed. I had sculpted before, so I gravitated towards foil. I used a square sheet to make their bodies, then built them up with more foil so they looked more like people. And then when I liked the shape, I wrapped it with masking tape to make it easier to paint. And then I used primer to get a clean white coat. And then for the black uniforms, I tried to use just Sharpie first, but it looked too purple. And then I tried to just do black paint over it, which took too many coats to look good. So then I just combined them, a layer of Sharpie, and then I went over it with paint, and then covered up with more Sharpie for places that I missed. And I did it for their skin too. And then for their hair, I thought about using foil, but the texture always kind of looked weird, and it was hard to paint, so I just used air dry clay. And then for my friends with black hair, I used black clay, obviously, so I didn't have to paint over it, and then white clay for the rest of them since their hair was a much lighter color. And then most of them, for their pictures, had their hair in braids, which took the longest time to make out of the clay, and I felt like I was making pretzels. The clay was also on the cheaper side, so it kept dripping, and it took a lot of patience to get the braid. And for one of the sculptures, I had to do two of them. And after finishing these braids, I had to join into the head, which looked a little bit janky, but I smoothed it out with some water. Then I used shades of brown and yellow to match the color of their hair. And after that, I did details on their uniform. And for those super small details, I use a mechanical pencil as my brush to make it super precise. And then for most of their belts, I just used Sharpie and scissors to cut out paper, fold it, color it. And then when I was done with them, I still had to make a sword and a bow or arrow for two of them. The sword was just a toothpick I used metallic Sharpies on and a little bit of clay for the hand guard. The bow was just more clay with real string for, the string. The arrow was also a toothpick with clay on the tip. I glued the arrow and bow to the hand after that. I'm really proud with how they all turned out. After finishing the figures, I had to make bases for them. I went around the house finding old wooden and Jenga blocks. Then I put primer on those and painted them brown. And after I was happy with the color, I glued them onto their blocks and all the figures were done. And overall, it was a super fun process.